Good morning, Year 10 parents. I hope that you are well, and thank you for all of your support in recent weeks as we have worked in these complex and challenging times to secure our virtual school. I hope that the video version of the email that I have sent to you earlier will be helpful, and I intend to do this weekly moving beyond half term. We are very aware that this current period provides particularly complex challenges for our Year 10 students. If we were in school, this would be the point when we know that we would be focusing on becoming Year 11 ready, on ensuring that students were well equipped to prepare for September and that they were thinking ambitiously about their sixth form choices and application processes. But just because we're not in school doesn't mean that those things are less important or that those things shouldn't be happening, and we are committed to ensuring that Year 10 are very much prioritised over the coming weeks and that you and they feel confident to move into the next phase. Now, chiefly our provision over the last couple of weeks has focused on accelerating our provision for virtual lessons, and I know that you have noticed that uplift in the past week alone. Our internal school data would identify that Year 10 students have on average received between 4 and 6 virtual lessons across the course of this past week, and that will increase further after half term. Generally, we are looking for all subject teachers to deliver at least one virtual lesson for each class across the course of a week, and that roughly that will meet our wider ambition of every child receiving approximately one virtual lesson a day. But please know that that is a more random provision and that students may find themselves having a number of virtual lessons on one day and less on another, dependent on their timetable, but also on the timetable of their teachers. One of the things that we have found most effective is splitting classes in half for these virtual lessons to enable more interaction with the teacher and also more opportunities for students to feel actively involved. But that does mean that we have to spread that provision more carefully across the course of a week. But I'm pleased that you have noticed that change this week. It's been lovely to talk to students about how much they have appreciated it as well. Now, in the letter that I have sent all of you by email today, I've talked about our provisional hopes and ambitions in relation to reopening school. We do currently still await final guidance from central government into relation to what we will be permitted to do and what is expected to happen. But regardless of that, I think it's imperative at a school level that we are providing really strong leadership about what it is that we would hope to achieve, knowing that everything is subject to change. We would very much like to be able to bring Year 10 back to school, and we would be looking to do that under a phased model. In the letter that I have sent you, I've outlined a series of key dates, and that we would begin, if possible, to begin our provision from the week of the 8th of June. In the 8th of June, we will be reaching out to targeted families and children where either we or you as parents have raised some concerns surrounding level of work submission, academic progress during the period of lockdown, or mental health and well-being. And those meetings would take place with key members of senior staff, Mr. Mustafa, Mrs. Marnie and Mr. Gillow, and they would happen at the upper school. From the week of the 15th of June, we would ideally be looking to hold parent consultation meetings, what we would usually see to be parents' evenings, but we would seek to do those in the daytime. We would be looking at the first part of that week to welcome parents and students into school to meet with individual subject teachers for subject feedback. And then at the end of the week to have a more traditional learning reviews day style meeting with the form tutor where all of that information can be brought together holistically. But we don't want to do those things in the wrong order, and it's important that subject teachers have had the chance to feedback with you first, particularly looking at the recent assessments that have been completed and the grades which you will have received earlier in the month. Health and safety is of course an absolute priority in how we would do that, and one of the things that we've already begun to do is to build protective screens on teachers' desks in each classroom, and also particularly special booths for some of those meetings to happen. And wider details about our health and safety provision for those types of meetings are included within the letter, and you would receive a summary document called Visiting School Protocols in advance of attending, so that we all feel comfortable and confident with the environment that we are moving into, and that health and safety and hygiene is first and foremost in everybody's minds. But then the bigger next step, we would, ideally, be looking to try and bring Year 10 back to school from the week of the 22nd of June. We would look to bring them back in half year groups, so X band and Y band. We'd be looking to run a half-day curriculum model with children either in school for the morning or the afternoon. The reason to sticking to an X and a Y band model is so that we can minimise social mixing and that we can create students in bubbles within school where their mixing with other young people and members of staff is minimised as far as possible. We would have to change some of the staffing organisation so that children could be taught in classes of 15, and we've begun to look at those timetabling models at school already. There would be a break in the middle of the day when students from the morning had been dismissed before afternoon school children could come in so that we could carry out a robust cleaning programme. In theory, that would then mean that students in Year 10 could have 4 weeks of curriculum time. We may finish the final week of the summer term a little bit earlier to enable us to extend provision for children in Year 9, 8 and 7 for them to have meetings with their teachers, but also so that some of the staff preparation for September could happen in the last week of term as opposed to happening in September. That's subject to a little bit more change and refinement, but I think it's important for you to know where my thinking and that of senior staff and governors' thinking is at the moment, so that you and your child can begin that kind of mental preparation for the changes that might be ahead. I hope that you found the curriculum document that was shared earlier this week helpful, and I hope that your young person will find that supportive in terms of structuring their learning. For now, please do just look at those details carefully and think through how does that feel for you. Many of you, thank you, completed the Year 10